I'm Mr. Pike. I am the music teacher and band director here at LCS. This is my 5th year teaching here.
So when would you say your Christian walk really began?
So my Christian walk really began in high school after dating a girl and going to church with her on Sundays. But to get there, we're going to back up real quick. I was 6 years old when my parents got divorced, and I had a lot of anger and just a lot of unanswered questions that I had about a lot of things. And so Dad would take us to church when we visited him every other weekend. But with the struggles that I had about him being gone, and because he was in the military, he was kind of a tough man to deal with as a kid. I just really had a lot of questions, a lot of anger and built up tension there. And so at 9, I had a really big argument with him that I was never going back to church, that I was going to set out to try to disprove God and the Bible. At 9 years old, that's a big task. And so I set out to do just that. I read a lot of books. I read a lot of encyclopedias, a lot of scientific journals, and read archaeological discoveries, and really just tried to put together the truth about the stories that I heard, that there was no way they could be real how the Bible says they were. And so I spent a lot of years asking questions and looking for truth, and finally decided that I was going to look for truth, not just trying to disprove the Bible, but I was going to look for truth. And so I studied and researched different religions and countries and people all over the world. And what ended up happening eventually is that I realized that people all over the world through all times in history worshipped. And they worshipped outward and they worshipped upward. And that was interesting. And then I also realized that there was morals all over the world from all different parts of history that were the same as here and now. And so that was interesting as well. And so it clicked one day at church with this girlfriend when the pastor read John 3:17, which says, "For God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through him." And everything kind of clicked all at once, that God created us because he chose us, because he wanted us. That Jesus came for us to reconcile us back to God, that our sin separated us from God, but because God wanted us and God chose us to be here, that Jesus was the way for us to be able to commune with God again. Because what I found out, is how God originally created us. That was the realization I came to that day, that God created us in order to commune with him. He wanted us and he chose us. And as a 6-year-old, when I looked at my mom and said, "Hey, I'm going to do my best to take care of you now that I'm the man of the house," at 6 years old, that's not something a kid should ever have to go through. That was a lot of weight on my shoulders, but I felt really alone for a long time. I felt a lot of pressure in this world, that it was really big and that I was really small, that there was a lot of weight to carry. And so to realize that I didn't have to carry that weight, that God really wanted me, that God loved me, all of a sudden I felt joy. So I wasn't overcome with guilt of my sin at that point, but I knew that God was real, that he existed. And then I had to reconcile, okay, I'm sinning against a God who loves me and who chooses me and who created us to commune with him. And so I've got to act like he is that he is that big and that he does love us, but also that he is holy and that my sin separates me from him. So all of that kind of flooded in an instant at church that day.
So how has being a Christian affected your day-to-day life and your overall mentality?
Well, really, sanctification is a process. And so since that time in church, everything that I've done has been a process of being sanctified back to him. So now, after being kicked out of one college and changing majors and all those things, I majored in music and had a minor in biblical studies. And now literally my job revolves around being a Christian. I mean, the things that I do, the people I hang out with, my life really focuses on how can I glorify God through my words, through my actions, through how I live. It really shapes everything that I do. It is who I am.